Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the One Game at a Time podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Seb O'Neill, joined by two guests today, only the three stooges this afternoon, joined by Marc Talbot. Marc, how are you going this week?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Doing quite well. And also by David Grant. David, how has your week been since we last spoke?
My week's been absolutely fine. Yes, no complaints at all. So, yes, grand.
No Alessio this week. I'm sure we'll get on to his reasoning. He might want to be hiding after his recent result in State League 2.
Even that, he's training hard to turn things around for the mighty Barker.
But we'll start with our picks of the week, and I'll go first. As of recording, we've now had the Australia Cup draw for the next round. We'll go through the fixtures, starting with Modbury Jets versus Adelaide Victory, Campbelltown versus Adelaide Blue Eagles, West Adelaide versus Adelaide Comets, Northern Demons versus Elizabeth Downs, a very interesting one, Fulham United versus FK Beograd, Cumberland United versus Cove FC, Metro versus Croydon, and Adelaide City versus Adelaide Olympic. A few interesting ones in there. Adelaide City get another home cup game in a row. Campbelltown playing against Blue Eagles. Blue Eagles look to be in great form at the moment. And then Northern Demons versus Elizabeth Downs, which is probably going to be quite a tight one. I don't know who wants to go first on this one, but just what we think of the draw.
I'll go first. I'll just say briefly that I'm excited again about the cup draw. It comes round quickly, and before we know it, I guess we'll be at the end of it all, won't we? It'll pass quickly. This is round 5. Is this round 5? Yeah, round 5. So I think there's only one underdog left, isn't there? Elizabeth Downs, alleged underdog, I suppose, when you look at the tiers. So I'm excited by that one. Port Pirie, and I think they're travelling up there, aren't they? They're going up to Port Pirie to play that game. So, gosh, if it wasn't quite so far away, I might have nipped up myself to have a little look at that. But that's the game that I guess I'm quite excited about, or most excited about, because it stands out. Because Downs are the last of the amateur or non-senior, if you like, teams left. So that's the one that kind of stands out for me.
Yeah, look, I was a little disappointed when I saw the draw come out, to be honest. Purely in the fact that I was hoping Northern Demons and Elizabeth Downs wouldn't get partnered together.
I thought you were going to say because I did it for a second there. I would have been very offended.
I was getting to that, but no. No, that for me, that was a little disappointing because I really was hoping that they would both get clubs that were probably SL1, but also possibly winnable games. I mean, no one thought Northern Demons would beat Power Hill, so anything's possible. And again, we do love a good cup set. But I wanted those two being the underdogs, the real underdogs. I really wanted them not against each other, so that at least we might get both through. Now we're guaranteed to at least get one of them through, but that was a little disappointing. But I look at it and go, like, it would have been great if they'd have got someone like Fulham or Cove and things like that and separated. But that is for me the game that probably has the most interest. I think the rest of them look to be all good fixtures. I quickly watched the back end of the Cumberland Fulham game last night when we recorded this, because they played on the Tuesday night. So I watched the back end of that, and I thought Cumberland were probably the better side for the last 30 minutes that I saw of the game. So I think it could be an interesting one, and I don't see too many cup sets in this round, but we'll get to that when it's time.
Of course, those games we played on the weekend of the 13th and the 14th of April, so not too far now until we get to those latter stages and seeing who qualifies for the Australia Cup proper. It'll be very, very exciting to see who gets through to that. Marc, we'll go on to your pick of the week.
Yeah, look, my pick of the week is actually around some goalkeeper gloves, actually. I've noticed, so shout out to TJ Gloves, who are now going to be sponsoring the Goalkeeper of the Year award that we're doing this year. So it's fantastic news. But I've noticed that they're sponsoring actually a few clubs as well now. So he's starting to branch out and get into providing gloves for the clubs. I know it's Modbury Vista. So at the moment, he's got the big one is Joe Gauchi at Villa. He's got Daniel Margush, Sarah Langman, Central Coast. So he's got Templeman from Melbourne City, Claudia Jenkins at AUFC. So he's got some players, but he's also started doing it with clubs as well locally. So Mowbray Vista and Metro Stars are two that I've seen recently, which I think is great. He's now getting into sponsoring those goalkeepers and also providing the goalkeepers at those clubs the opportunity to get their hands on some really good gloves at decent prices. So for me, I think that's a great shout out and a great idea that he's got there for a local glove supplier, and one that I used to use myself.
Absolutely, and looking forward to having them on board for our Goalkeeper of the Year award. David, on to you. You watched some cup action during the weekend.
I did indeed. I took myself down to King's Reserve near the Brickworks to watch a little bit of MA Hawks and Adelaide Olympic. So MA Hawks from the Amateur League and Adelaide Olympic from NPL. I've played on that ground quite a few times in my career, but not for a long time have I been there. It's quite a nice pitch. It was quite heavy. I think they'd watered it quite heavily in the morning. It's the grass is cut finely, but it's undulates. It's a kind of rolly pitch. Took myself off behind one of the goals and just sort of observed the game from there. So Olympic were the better side. They really were the better side on the day, but MA Hawks maybe gave them a bit of a fright because it was 1-1 at after about 50 minutes. So Olympic were 1-0 up at half time, and then MA Hawks pulled one back about 10 minutes into the second half. But then Olympic scored a few goals and sort of ran away with it a little bit. The first goal was scored at the far end by Alessio Benvenuto. So I had a little chat with Cosmo Groff as he made his way back after the celebrations, and I couldn't quite catch Cosmo Groff being the Olympic goalkeeper, but I couldn't quite catch who'd scored the goal at the time. So I asked Mr. Groff if he would enlighten me as to who the goal scorer had been, and he was able to tell me that it had been Alessio. And when I pressed him further for the surname, he said, "To be honest, I don't know his surname." So he's playing in a team. He's playing in a team where he doesn't know all of his teammates' names, which surprised me. But we had a bit of a discussion before we started on air here, and apparently that's more common than I was led to believe. But I think Cosmo's homework maybe this week is to go around and ask each of his teammates what their name is. Anyway, that aside, Olympic ended up cruising towards the end. They really dominated play as the game wore on, and I guess it showed that they've been playing football for 4 rounds or so, competitive football for 4 rounds, and MA Hawks haven't started their season yet. This was probably their second or third game if they've played earlier rounds of the Australia Cup. But it was a grand day out. There was a big barbecue there. There was a decent crowd, lovely weather. So that's my pick of the week.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Mark. We'll go on to our week's review of all the games throughout South Australia, starting with the Men's State League 2 and State League 1. 4 games played, of course, because of the Cup round. Those games being 2 from State League 2, Adelaide Hills Hawks versus Eastern United, with Eastern United coming out 3-2 winners, and Adelaide University versus Mount Barker United in the city with Uni coming out 4-0 winners. Then in State League 1, Adelaide Blue Eagles versus Playford City 4-1. The way of the Blue Eagles, and Cumberland United versus Fulham United 1-1 in the end up there. Our thoughts on those matches, gentlemen. I mean, like we said, Alessio's not here, so can only assume.
So it's free range.
It was exactly. All his fault. It's as simple as that. He's not here to defend himself. It was all his fault. But no, look, I think we picked Uni to win that game, especially in the city on their pitch. So. And we've obviously all got University quite high in the league, so I think it was a bit of a given result. I thought it might have been a little bit closer score-wise, but like I said, I think we'll just blame Alessio on that. He's not here to defend himself. I think he's out for dinner with his parents, which is nice of him. We'll just drop him in that one. I didn't see any of the Hawks or the Eastern game. I don't know if you were able to get up there, David, but. Again, I think we picked Eastern up there, but Hawks, obviously, we know they're going to struggle a little bit this year, and they're getting some favourable results, I think, but I don't think they're going to trouble too much. And again, Eastern, I'm expecting them to be quite high in the league, so I think they're starting to find their feet, so to speak.
Yeah, I had intended to get along to watch the Hills Hawks Eastern United game, but I don't know, that got home from work a little bit late because this isn't a full-time job for me. So got home a little bit late, and by the time I'd had dinner and sat down on the couch, it just seemed too hard. But So I didn't catch that game at all. Maybe I'll get out next time they've got a game that is in midweek. The Adelaide University Mount Barker United game, yeah, no surprises there. I've said all along, and Alessio isn't here to defend himself, but for me, the trouble Mount Barker have got is that they just, and it's the same as last year, they just don't seem to have a proven goal scorer. They just don't seem to be able to get goals. I know they're conceding a few, but they've only scored one all year, I think, in all competitions from memory, cup and league, and they've played 4 or 5 games, and they've only got the one goal. And I think last year from memory, I think they scored 20 league goals in their 22 games or thereabouts. So for me, their problem is where the goals are going to come from.
Yeah, they've got a goal difference of -7 this stage after 3 games.
Yeah, that's not great.
No, you've summed up there quite well. No, it's not great. Yeah, it's not great looking for them at this stage. The other games, I don't know if you guys managed to catch the Blue Eagles Playford game or Cumberland Fulham game. They were both broadcast. I managed to watch most of the Blue Eagles game against Playford the other week. Blue Eagles 9 points at the moment, sitting top of the table, sitting very pretty. We knew that they were going to be up there when we realised, once I realised they had signed the Silva, Cacciavellani, obviously in the same team, is always going to be a very attacking side, and they're starting to show it. They've scored quite a few goals, I think, already. So I was expecting a little bit more from the game itself. I was expecting a little bit more from Playford, to be honest. But Blue Eagles seemed to outplay them. And then, like I said earlier, the Cumberland Fulham game, I watched the back end of that last night. And to be fair, Cumberland, the last 30 minutes, Cumberland were the better side over Fulham, probably deserved to get a goal. Just on note, that last 30 minutes that I did manage to catch was certainly the best side and probably deserved the goal. And were unlucky not to concede a couple of shots. Wooding was back in the lineup and he hit a couple of goal bound, but very well and very late sort of blocks on the line to prevent them going ahead. So I think probably Cumberland probably felt a little bit hard done by in the end.
So after Men's State League action, we'll go on to the Women's Leagues, which restarted this past week to WSL and WMPL. Starting with WSL, Modbury Vista against Fulham United, 12-0 winners over newly relegated Fulham United for Modbury Vista. Elizabeth Grove beating the Cove FC 6-1 away. Modbury Jets beating Croydon FC 17-0. Western Strikers versus South Adelaide 3-3. And Adelaide Jaguars versus Campbelltown City 2-4 the way of Campbelltown. Then in the WMPL, Flinders United lost 5-0 to West Adelaide. Adelaide Uni, surprisingly, were 2-0 up at halftime, but Adelaide City just managed to come back at full time to get a draw out of it 2-2. Sturt Lions with their first game, the WMPL, coming out 4-0 losers to Adelaide Comets. Last year's grand final rematch, Salisbury Inter versus FSA NTC. NTC coming out the 1-0 winners, and Metro United versus West Torrens Bacala on the Saturday night, 1-0 there. A few interesting ones there. I think the Inter FSA NTC game was probably a really exciting one to look forward to. The Adelaide Uni versus Adelaide City, probably a surprising result in the end, considering that Uni were 2-0 up at half time and probably not expected to get a result like that against an Adelaide City side. Elizabeth Grove showing that they mean business this year by coming out 6-1 winners against the Cove, and Modbury Vista blitzing Fulham United, who only just got relegated from the WMPL.
Yeah, where to start? Where to start on some of those results is interesting. I know we spoke offline about the Modbury Jets Croydon result there, and we are under the impression that Croydon did lose their first team, and are having to they had to promote their reserves. So it's going to be an interesting one to see what happens down there at Croydon now with that result, and obviously with them losing some players. From what I've heard through pre-season, that's going to be a very tough year for them. Very interesting to see how the club moves forward, and the coaching and playing staff move forward on that one. The other one, obviously, was the other big result with Modbury Vista and Fulham. That really did surprise me, that result. I was not expecting Fulham to concede 12. I know they're rebuilding, and they've got a lot of work ahead of them, but I really didn't see that happening, to be honest. But yeah, Elizabeth Grove showing some good stuff there. I mean, obviously they won the pre-season cup and carrying that forward straight into the season, which is great. Campbelltown City, like I said, they picked up Scalzi as their coach. They picked up a few good players, so they're starting off really well on the right foot. And in the WMPL, I actually picked Flinders and West Adelaide to draw. So I wasn't sure if West Adelaide would hit their straps so quickly, but they certainly put their foot down and went, and they made a bit of a mess of the Flinders team in winning 5-0. So for me, a couple of two very surprising results, a couple which were expected, but also, like I said, I didn't expect West Adelaide. I picked them to draw, but if they were going to win, I didn't think it'd be a 5-0 win. So, and Metro United, obviously, they're getting off to a great start there at Berks as well with a 1-0 win. I was chatting with one of the main sponsors, Robert, and he's looking forward to seeing how they get on this year, because they're a really exciting team. So we'll have to keep an eye on Metro this year.
The only thing I would just add to that is that I caught the second half of Sturt and Adelaide Comets at Carina Reserve. Now, because I missed the first half, I can't comment on that, but at half time, Comets were only 1-0 up. So I'm assuming that Sturt had a pretty solid first half, but the half I saw, the second half, Comets were just far too strong. So their first half goal had come from Alexandra Ladas, and then they'd gone into a 2-0 lead through Elena Saroulis. Excuse me, Elena, if I've mispronounced that. And then the legendary Sugihara scored in the 66 minutes before Emily Hazelwood got a goal just right at the very end. But it was an entertaining enough match. There was a couple of former Adelaide Hills Hawks girls playing. Louise Brooke, the captain of Sturt, is a former Hawk player. And Louis Saba, who came on in about the 60th minute, the 66th minute, is also a former Hawks girl as well. So a couple of Hills girls playing there, or Hills-based girls playing there, that have gone now that the Hawks don't have a women's team. So that was the game that I saw the weekend. But I didn't see many of the other women's games, unfortunately.
And just a finishing point on the women's games, a few milestones and a few crazy stats happened. Of course, we had Nicole Blackett / Tilly celebrate her 250th NPL game in the State League. In that 12-0 win for Moira Vista against Fulham, Georgia Dearden, number 11 for Moira Vista, scored 4 in a match. And for Modbury Jets, Kira O'Leary, I'm just counting it now, scored 7 of those 17 goals. So pretty good for all of those players to celebrate those sorts of things in games.
And that's probably some league record, wouldn't it? I mean, 7 goals for a game in a single game, that's got to be some kind of record. Maybe we could look that up in time and see what the records show in terms of how often that's happened.
We could certainly have a look, but I hope she's a striker, because if she's a defender scoring that many goals, that's a worry.
Might have been 7 penalties.
On to Australia Cup action, where we had games all around the state. I'll go through all of them, all the results, and we'll go through just specific games that caught our eye. Starting with Seaford Rangers versus Mulberry Jets, 4-0 winners, the NPL side. It came out on that night. Tea Tree Gully versus Adelaide Comets, 4-1 winners. Comets conceding their first goal for the entire season against amateur side Tea Tree Gully, which is, I'm sure, something that David will want to talk about. Elizabeth Downs versus Gawler Eagles, 3-1 winners to the Downs, very late on, however. Western Strikers versus Campbelltown, 2-0 winners the way of the Cup finalists last year. And then a demolishing of Salisbury United by Metro, 6-0, the current holders. Adelaide Cobras versus Adelaide Victory in All State League, 1 game, 2-1 in the end. Pitbulls FC versus West Adelaide, 3-1 the way of West Adelaide. MA Hawks versus Adelaide Olympic, as we already spoke about, 3-1 the way of Adelaide Olympic. Cumberland United versus Mulberry Vista, Cumberland coming out 4-0 winners there. Perhaps the shock of the round, Parry Hills Knights playing its Northern Demons at Parry Hills Knights when it wasn't even supposed to be. Originally, the game was supposed to be up in Peary. Had to be swapped, but Northern Demons still coming out 3-0 winners against the NPL side. Elizabeth Grove versus Croydon FC, 7-1 winners to the NPL side. Sturt Lions versus Fulham United went all the way to penalties after a 3-3 draw, but Fulham came out winners 5-4 on penalties. Adelaide City 2-1 versus South Adelaide. Adelaide Croatia Raiders and Adelaide Blue Eagles, another upset, 2-2 at full time, but Blue Eagles going through 4-2 on penalties. Cove FC versus Pontian Eagles, 1-0 the way of the southern side. And amateur versus NPL. NPL wins out with FKB Agrad versus Parry Hills East, 3-1 winners. Just a few key ones I'll mention. Of course, we said how Comets conceded their first goal against amateur side Tea Tree Gully. Metro scored 6 against Salisbury United. Croatia Raiders going out to Blue Eagles, showing what a force they can be. And Northern Demons especially beating, looking at the team sheet, what was a strong Para Hills Knights team. Those are the ones that really stood out for me.
Yeah, I second that. I think those were probably especially the Para Hills are obviously playing a full, what seems to be a full strength side. I thought if they were playing up Imperial Demons would have a chance of going all the way to sort of penalties or at least extra time, but I don't think anyone would have picked them to win and what seems like a comfortable 3-0 result as well. So that was a great result for Northern Demons, and it was moved due to the heat because it was obviously a lot hotter in Pirrie. So because of the weather, they moved it down to Adelaide and playing on a grass pitch, which means they can play at a higher temperature than what they could have done in Port Pirie. So that's the reason why they moved it down. The other one that stood out for me, there's two others, was the Adelaide City Souths game. As I said at the start of the year when they played in round 1, I thought if they've got JJ, they're a different side. And again, I think that's proven, shown the difference from round 1 to that cup round, having JJ on the side, what a difference he makes to that team, and having their captain be playing at centre back in Rob Parker. He just adds that steeliness to that defence, and I think they've shored up a lot, and they're starting to get their balance. And I think they'll hopefully take those last couple of performances, even though they lost in the cup, those performances, they'll still carry them forward into the next few rounds. And I think the only other one is Para Hills Eastern, FK Beograd on the Sunday. That one stood out for me only because I said that FK Beograd would win and that Shearer would score a brace. Not only did FK Beograd win, I got it wrong. He didn't score a brace. He went and scored a hat trick.
That's like a brace and a half, though, isn't it?
So it was. I thought, and what was funny was it was a late call up too for Shearer to actually start the game. So they weren't sure how Good was going to pull forward, how Good was going to rock up and play. But mind the pun. Apologies, I've been hanging around with Johnny Kecko too long. But no, so that's the other one I just wanted to highlight, just because I actually got it so close to being right in the fact that I almost got him to get a hat trick, or he got the hat trick. I just picked him to score 2.
You guys have covered it very well. I think the only thing I would just maybe comment on from a personal perspective is that I thought the Comets game might have blown out by more, and I was surprised, of course, to see T3 Gully getting a goal at Comets. Well done them, but I'm not sure if the Comets back 4, do they have their usual back 4, or had they rested a couple of players? I'm not really sure. The other one that surprised me a little bit was the blowout that Salisbury Inter suffered at Metro Stars. That was a 6-0 result for Metro Stars. It was at Salisbury, and I just thought Salisbury, I don't think I picked them to win, but I thought it would be closer than it was. I've already mentioned the MA Hawks Adelaide Olympic game because I was at that one. And then Northern Demons, yeah, that was a bit of an upset, but Demons seem to be scoring a lot. So maybe it's not an upset. I haven't seen Demons this year. I've seen Para Hills Knights a couple of times, but I haven't seen Demons. So maybe they've got something up front that's just working really well for them. The Elizabeth Grove game, bit of a blowout, wasn't it? And of course, 2 games going to penalties. At the start, at home to Fulham, and Croatia Raiders at home to Blue Eagles, both went to penalties, and quite like to have seen them. So I went along to that game thinking I might have been an upset, but I picked the wrong one, didn't I?
Just on that Gully Comets game, the goal that T3 Gully scored was actually a penalty as well, funny enough. So not from a play, and the back line seemed to be pretty strong themselves.
Yeah, following up on that lineup, I've just had a look. They had Demu playing, Lacornu playing, so there's your 2 centre halves. They had, however, rested Energianta and Labasa, the 2 fullbacks. So they were both on the bench. They effectively, I think they would have probably had Zacharakis playing on one side at fullback, maybe. And possibly the only other one I can think of might have been Karkafiris or Magetto. Oh, no, Magetto would have been in goal. So Karkafiris, I think, would have been the other fullback.
Well,
and interesting. I'll get that wrong.
Interesting you say that it came from a penalty, because I remember when we watched them, Seb, I remember making a comment that I think that if we do score against Comets, it's probably going to come in a set piece, a free kick or a penalty, or maybe directly from a corner.
Yeah. So the other thing you said as well, David, was that Salisbury Metro game. We all thought that was going to be a lot closer, and you're right. I thought we'd be a lot closer. I read Matt's Gaston's write up on that game because he does a full blown write up after every game. So I managed to read it, and he was saying that they had rested a few players due to injury. So he wasn't probably playing his strongest 11, but I did think it would still be a little bit closer than what it was.
That's all of the Australia Cup games from the past week covered, and all the games across all the leagues in South Australia in the past week's covers. Now we'll look forward to the coming weekend. Starting with State League 2, your fixtures are Eastern United versus Cove FC on Friday, the 22nd of March at 7:45 p.m. Gawler Eagles versus Port Adelaide, Friday, 22nd of March at 8:15. Modbury Vista versus Adelaide University, Saturday, 23rd of March, 3 p.m. Northern Demons versus Adelaide Hills Hawks, Saturday, the 23rd of March, 3:30 p.m. Mount Barker United versus Noarlunga United, Saturday, the 23rd of March, 5 p.m. And Pontian Eagles versus Seaford Rangers on that same Saturday at 7 p.m. We'll go through them one by one and give our predictions. Eastern United versus Cove. I reckon I'll go Eastern United.
That's a really tough game. That is. They're both coming off good results, especially in the league. They both won the last game. Eastern, obviously, at home. I think Eastern at home will have enough.
I'm actually going to stick my neck out, and I think I'm sticking my neck out and agreeing with you. I think Cove, they've had 3 league wins and a couple of cup wins, so that they haven't lost in 5 games. Eastern United lost their opener, I think, and then won 2 in a row, and then obviously won the cup game at the weekend. This game's at Eastern United, isn't it? Yeah, I'm going to go Eastern United as well. So all 3 of us have gone with Eastern United there, eh? I'm going to write, do you know what? I'm going to write a couple of these down because we make these predictions, right? And then everybody's a bit vague about what they picked when all the results come back in. And then suddenly someone will say, I picked this and I picked. So I'm actually going to at random, I'm going to note a few of these. And I'm noting this one. We've all backed Eastern United.
It just allows us to go back and re-listen to our podcast, that's all.
Yeah.
Gawler Eagles versus Port Adelaide. I'll go with Gawler.
I'll go Gawler.
Yeah, this is a tough one because Port didn't play against Demons. That game's still to be played. So Port have only played 2 of their 3. They've only got a point. Gawler, they've only won 1 game as well, obviously, and they lost in the cup to the Downs. I'm going to go a draw in this one.
Next in State League 2, Modbury Vista versus Adelaide University. At Modbury Vista, another tough one. I'll go Vista.
I'm going Uni.
I'm going Uni too.
Northern Demons versus Adelaide Hills Hawks up at Port Pirie. I have to go Northern Demons on current form.
I back you on that one. I'm going Northern Demons as well.
And I'm backing Northern Demons, and they'll win by about 8.
Oh.
Just a quick thing on that. Do we think that Northern Demons are possible promotion contenders looking at them so far? Genuinely?
Dark horses?
Yeah.
Put them in there. Well, they're doing well. They've got some great players. They've got Michael Ilafa that was in MPL.
An international as well.
Yeah, they've got some great form as well. They're playing at home. When it's always hard traveling up there. It always has been, always will be. They've got a good young coach in Omar Hassan who's working wonders with them at the moment. He's really getting them playing to a fine tune with results. So, I mean, hey, possible dark horses. They may make make the finals. Anything's possible, but there's certainly possibility to make finals.
Yeah, I wouldn't write them off, but I think with all of these wins, they'll be growing in confidence as well. So I'm pretty sure, having seen these early results, that finals is definitely achievable. So champions, I don't know. Runners up, I don't know. But certainly in that finals playoff.
Next in State League 2, Mount Barker United versus Noarlunga United. The one week he's not here. I'm actually probably going to go for Mount Barker United.
Make sure you're recording so he's got the evidence for
that. I'll write these ones down.
Well, for me, this is a tough one. This is a tough one because I really liked what I saw from I liked what I saw from Noarlunga the other week when I watched them play against Seaford. At times they were the better team. They tried to play some good football. They certainly work hard. I'm actually going to go with Noarlunga on this one. Sorry, Alessio. Apologies, mate, but
You said it again.
I am going to go with a draw on this one because I think if there is a game that Mount Barker can win, it will be this one. But I still just can't see where they're going to get goals from. So I'm not convinced that they're going to score more than their opponents, but I'm convinced that they can score as many as their opponents. So I'm going to go for a draw.
Do you think they can not concede any from their opponents?
Well, I'm just looking at the table now. Noarlunga have only scored 3, so and that's in 3 games. So I mean, they're not prolific scorers themselves. Mount Barker have got 1 league goal in their 3 games. So neither team are great scorers, but both teams have conceded 8 in their 3 games. So there are obviously problems at the back as well. I just think Mount Barker aren't going to go through the season without getting a point. They'll get a point. They'll get a win somewhere. They'll get a draw somewhere. They'll pick up a couple of loose results like that. They'll grind them out. And I think the message that I forgot the Barker coach's name. I apologise, but the message he'll be giving these players is this is your chance to get off the board. They've got no points. This is your chance to pick up your first points of the season. And I think they'll be motivated by the fact that it is a team that's down there with them. And I just think that'll be. But I just don't think they're going to score more than their opponents. But I think they'll score as many. So draw.
The one week he's not here.
Like as a neutral draw.
And that's the first one we've picked 3 different outcomes. So Seb, you've got Barker, Mark, you've got Noarlunga, and I've got a draw. So 3 different outcomes. So there's only going to be one winner in this one.
and the one time it's majority positive results for Mount Barker as well, because normally it's at least Alessio going for the draw. Last one for State League 2, Pontian Eagles versus Seaford Rangers. I'll go at it's another tough one. At Pontian, I'll go the home side.
I'll go a draw in this one. Again, can't make up my mind. 2 sides very closely matched, both in a similar sort of spot on the table. I think one's 5th and one's 7th.
Yeah.
So a draw for me.
This one's tough because I know the Pontian pitch is quite small, and I know they've got really quick strikers, which has worked for them in the past. Obviously, they beat Gawler at home, which we didn't expect. But Seaford have just picked up a new player, trained for the first time last night. So with him, if he starts, I'm going to go with Seaford.
Oh, so we've got 3 different ones there too. Seb, you've got Pontian, Mark, you've got Seaford, and I've got draw.
Very, very interesting.
Excellent.
So shout out to Anders, who's just joined Seaford on his second stint with the club. So he was there when I was back playing, and he was our centre back the year we won the league. So I'm hoping he can bring some stability to that side and really help them at the back.
On to round 2 of the WSL, starting with Campbelltown City versus Elizabeth Grove on the Friday at 8:15. Cove versus Modbury Vista, also on the Friday, 22nd of March at 8:15. Then on to the Saturday, South Adelaide versus Modbury Jets. Possible a top 2 playoff in that one there, I reckon, at 5:15 on the Saturday. Fulham United versus Western Strikers on the 23rd of March on the Saturday at 5:15. And then the only game for the Sunday, Croydon FC versus Adelaide Jaguars, Sunday the 24th of March at 3:15. Again, we'll start from the beginning. A pre-season cup final rematch between Campbelltown City and Elizabeth Grove. Of course, Grove came out winners on penalties that day, but I reckon in the league, Campbelltown will win this one.
I'm going to draw.
I'll go with Campbelltown. Very early in the season, isn't it? There's not a lot of league for them. We've just got that pre-season cup and one league game behind us, but I'll go Campbelltown as well.
Next up, Cove FC versus Modbury Vista. Again, Modbury Vista, another of those teams who spent time in the WNPL recently, and another one of those possible promotion contenders. So I think in this one, I'll be going for them.
I'll go Vista as well. That's who you said, was it, Seb? Vista? Yep, I'll go for. I should listen to you more often, shouldn't I? I'll go for Vista as well. I'll go for Vista as well.
I'm going to follow suit, boys. I think it'll be a Vista win.
South Adelaide versus Modbury Jets down at South Adelaide. Again, a really interesting one. Modbury Jets looking the good so far this WSL season. you'd think it'd be between South Adelaide, Modbury Jets, Vista, and Campbelltown, maybe Elizabeth Grove to go up this season. So another important one. I reckon I'll go for the draw on this one.
I am going to go for Modbury.
This is a
Told ya.
ridiculously tough
I'll
game.
go,
It's very
I'll
tough.
go for Modbury Jets. Again, it's hard to tell, isn't it? Because you just don't know what the story was behind that 17-0 win that Modbury Jets came off of last week. I mean, on paper, Modbury Jets should win this. South Adelaide, I don't know. I'm going for Modbury Jets purely based on what happened last week, but that's probably all judged.
I'm going to go with a draw. I think, obviously, Modbury had a massive win last week. We don't know the extent of what's gone on with Croydon. We're only a little bit of guesswork and what we've heard on the usual grapevines. But South Adelaide will be a solid side. I mean, Western Strikers are a good side as well. So I'm going to go with the draw with that one.
Fulham United versus Western Strikers.
Well, Western Strikers.
I reckon I'll go Western Strikers too.
Well, I don't want to be the only one who doesn't, so I'll go for Western Strikers.
No, look, just based off what's gone on so far, I think Strikers had it was a good performance. Obviously, it was a draw with South Adelaide, who have always been up there. And Fulham, obviously, coming down, they did get hit for a few last week with Modbury Vista. So I just think, just on that, I think Strikers have got enough in the bag to get the result there.
And last game for round 2 of the WSL, Croydon FC versus Adelaide Jaguars. Have to go Adelaide Jaguars.
Yeah, right there with you.
Yeah, Jaguars, but only because of what I see in front of me in terms of the ladder and last week's results. Just very early in the season, isn't it, to know any kind of form or what's going on in the background. So, yep, Jaguars for me too.
On to State League 1 men's. Fixtures for this week are West Torrens Bocala versus Western Strikers on Friday night, 22nd of March, 8:15. Fulham United versus Adelaide Blue Eagles, first game for the Saturday at 3 p.m. Salisbury United versus Adelaide Victory, also at 3 p.m. on that Saturday, as well as Playford City versus Sturt Lions on that Saturday at 3 p.m. as well. Then later on, Vipers FC versus Cumberland United at 4:30 p.m. and Adelaide Cobras versus West Adelaide that same night at 7 p.m. We'll start with Berks versus Western Strikers. I'll go for Bocala.
Yeah, at home, I think I'm going to go Bocala. I think they got their first win before the cup round in the league. And they're both sitting 7th and 8th on the table, so it's quite tight. But I'll go with Bocala to get the win and Embargo to score 1 or 2.
Yeah, they're both sitting right next to each other, only on 4 points. 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw. Bocala coming off a win, Western Strikers coming off a loss. I'll go for a draw.
Fulham United versus Adelaide Blue Eagles, a pretty interesting one, but I reckon I have to go off Blue Eagles just because of form.
Well, Blue Eagles on the Fulham team, 9 points, 3 from 3. Goal difference of +8. Scored 3 or 4 in the last game. 4 last game with Kachi Villani scoring a hat trick, and Cooper Mullins scoring the other one from the back, which was some questionable defending. I have to admit. Don't know if you saw it, but I'm going to question it. But yeah, you have at this stage. I know Alessio loves Fulham, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in the black and white of Fulham at some stage in his playing career, the way he talks about him. But I'm going to go with ABE on this one with the Blue Eagles.
Yeah, the trouble is Fulham have to want him as well, don't they? Anyway, I'm going to go with Adelaide Blue Eagles. They're also coming off that cup win, albeit on penalties, over a very good Croatia Raiders side from last weekend. So Adelaide Blue Eagles on an absolute high will win this one.
Salisbury United versus Adelaide Victory. A tough one, but I reckon I'll stay with the Salisbury United train.
I'm going to go with Victory in this one.
Victory.
Yep, just go for Victory. There you go. There it is. I've said it.
I'm going to go with a draw. I think Salisbury's home form is really good, but Victory are surprising teams at the moment. They're playing quite well. I've watched them a couple of times, and I watched them against Sturt as well, and I've been impressed with what I'm seeing. So and I think at times they were a bit unlucky against Blue Eagles when Blue Eagles beat them, but it wasn't. Victory weren't disgraced by any stretch of the imagination. They didn't play too badly at times. So I think I'll come away with a draw on this.
Playford City versus Sturt Lions at 3 p.m. I'll go with Playford at Patriot Park.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
On you go, Mark.
So look at that. All three of us easy on that one, I think.
Yep.
Vipers
Playford.
FC versus Cumberland United at Vipers or at the Parks. I'll go with Cumberland though.
I will go with Cumberland on that. Watching them, like I said, I watched the back end of that game last night with Fulham. If they can take that form in to the game on Saturday, then I think Cumberland will win. The only thing they've got going against them, and just like Fulham, they played last night, so they've got less recovery time. But I still think Cumberland will get up against Vipers.
I'll contradict both of you and I'll go for Vipers. I think these teams are down at the bottom, sort of 3 games in. A team that's down at the bottom 3 games in and is facing a side that's just above them has arguably more motivation. So I'm going to go for a Vipers win in a horrible, scrappy match. Both sides have only scored 3 goals in their 3 games. Cumberland conceded 5, Vipers have conceded 8. So there's really only just a small margin of difference between the two statistically. So Vipers for me.
And last game for State League 1, Adelaide Cobras versus West Adelaide. Cobras perhaps struggling so far this season. At Cobras, I reckon I'll go for West Adelaide.
This one's tough for me. We know Olympic, Cobras are sitting 9th at the moment, 3 points. Only 1 win, so it does worry me. West Adelaide, however, not much better off. They've only got 1 win as well, but they haven't lost. They've drawn their other 2 games. So this is a real tough one. Cobras at home on a Saturday night. It's always daunting, regardless of who the opponent is. I'm going to go with a draw.
Who did you back? Did you say Cobras, Seb?
I said West Adelaide.
I think I'm going to go West Adelaide as well. I just think they've, gosh, the last league game was 2 weeks ago, but it seems like months ago. But they just hit a little bit of form, I think, didn't they? They had 2 draws, took a while to get going. Now they are going. They're going to win this one. So West Adelaide for me.
On to the WMPL and starting with a game that I'll be commentating with Hayley Routley. One of 4 games I'll be commentating this weekend, so hopefully nobody gets sick of my voice. Adelaide City versus Sturt Lions. Adelaide City versus Sturt Lions at Adelaide City Park, part of a doubleheader with the men's team. I'll go Adelaide City.
Yeah, look, I can't go past Adelaide City at home. Yes, they came away with the draw, the very late draw in round 1. But Sturt just promoted, still trying to find their feet in this league. So I'd have to go with Adelaide City at home.
I think Adelaide City are probably the favourites, but from what I understand, Sturt's first half against Comets was actually okay. Can they sustain that through 90 minutes against Adelaide City at Adelaide City Park? No, they can't. I'm going to go with Adelaide City.
On to the first WMPL game for the Saturday, which again I will be commentating. Again, don't get sick of my voice. Adelaide Comets versus Salisbury Inter, a cup rematch from last year. Last year's grand final winners, Salisbury Inters, and last year's league winners, Adelaide Comets. Another tough one, 12:45 kickoff around midday at Service FM Stadium. It's really tough. It's a really, really tough one, this one. I'll go. I won't go first.
You chickened out of that one. Well, I think I'm going to go with Comets, but a tight affair. I think it's going to be a real tight game, but I'm going to go Comets.
I agree. I'm with Comets on you. I'm with you on Comets for this one. Mark, Comets for me.
I'll go Inter.
Oh, I thought you were going to sit on the fence and go draw then.
Nah, I'll go Inter. Next up, another game which we commentated by Paul. West Adelaide versus Metro United, also at Jeps Cross, a triple header that day. West Adelaide versus Metro United. I'll go with West Adelaide after that 5-0 win against Flinders.
I'm going to go with Metro United in this one. Traditionally a very strong side. I haven't seen Flinders this year, so it's hard to make a judgment on what how they performed or how West Adelaide performed against them in that game. But I'll go Metro.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Metro coming off a good win against Berks, and we know West Adelaide coming off a big win. So look, I got it wrong with West Adelaide last week. I'm going to go with West Adelaide. So I'm going to go with West Adelaide. Nicole leading her team, 251st game. I think they'll get up there.
To Jack Smith Park, where West Torrens Burkalla will play against Adelaide Uni. I reckon I'll have to go with Adelaide Uni just because of their result against Adelaide City. Going up 2-0 is a brilliant feat, especially against a team like Adelaide City.
I'm going to go Adelaide Uni.
I'll go Adelaide Uni as well, but I really don't know. Well, that's the whole point of a tipping thing, isn't it? If you knew, then it wouldn't be a tipping thing. So.
And last one of that triple header, also commentated FSA NTC versus Flinders United at 5:15 p.m. at Jeps Cross. I'll have to go with NTC on this one.
NTC for me as well. I think they'll just be too strong for Flinders, but who knows? Maybe Flinders have faced in the first game they're the toughest opponent they'll face all year, and maybe they'll be the second best team in the league. It's very hard to tell this early on in the season, but I don't think Flinders will win this one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the NTC on this one, and we'll go from there. I think I'm not sure how Flinders will recover from the loss last week, and they're obviously playing another top side in the NTC. So I'll go with NTC.
On to the men's MPL, 4 games for your Friday night, starting with South Adelaide versus Adelaide Croatia Raiders. Nights at South Adelaide are always a great spectacle, and I reckon they'll get on top in this one.
Yeah, look, I'm actually
who's there?
South Adelaide.
Yeah, I'm actually with you, Sam. I think at home on a Friday night, I think they might, with JJ back, and like I said, I dare say they'll probably be starting Captain Rob Parker as well, who, like I said, he just adds that determination to the back four. So I reckon Souths are going to get up on this one.
I am going to go with. I quite fancy Croatia Raiders at the start of the year, but my fancy for them has been in decline as the weeks have passed, and we're only 4 weeks in. So a couple of weeks ago, I would have said Croatia Raiders without a doubt. Now I'm not so sure. I'll say a draw.
Next up, Metro Stars versus Modbury Jets at 7:45 on Friday night, a semi-final rematch, and those two-legged semi-final was 2 great matches to watch, both commentated by Alessio and David, which I think very much added to the experience of watching those ones. I reckon I'll go Modbury.
I was leaning towards Modbury as well, purely based off those games late last year. But in saying that, I'm going to go Metro for retribution. They're going to go out and they're going to say, "You guys ruined our season last year." Well, when I say ruined, they ended it for them effectively. So I'm going to go Metro with the fight back. They're going to seek retribution.
These aren't easy this week, are they? I'm going to go. Metro Stars just haven't had it. I can't even finish. I'm so confused. I can't even finish my sentences. I'll just go for a draw with this one. I couldn't pick a winner. Draw for me.
Adelaide City versus FK Beograd, the second game of that double header at Adelaide City Park at 8:15. Me and you, David, will be there for that one. And I reckon Adelaide City to come on top for this one.
I'd agree with you as well. I think Adelaide City at home will be too good.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys. I think they'll just have enough to get over FK Beograd.
And the final game for the Friday night, Adelaide Comets versus Para Hills Knights, 8:15 kickoff. Comets, who haven't conceded a league goal yet, or haven't conceded a goal from open play, at least, I reckon they'll come on top at Jeps Cross against Knights.
Yeah, I would agree with you as well. I think Comets still, for me, have been the strongest side that I've seen in the flesh. And I think they'll be too good, and I think they'll win this one as well. Maybe not by much, but they'll win it.
Yeah, look, I'm with you guys. Comets for me. Para was off a shock loss in the cup, so I think that might play a part in the psyche and how they approach this game, which they'll be out to rectify that. But I just think Comets have probably got too much in the tank, and we'll get the win there.
On to the Saturday for what has been customary, a 2:30 kickoff for Croydon at Regency Park versus Adelaide United Youth. I would say a tough one to predict, maybe. Adelaide United in not great form. Croydon apparently finishing top 2 from some sources.
Not me. we can say it's okay.
I reckon I'll go Adelaide United for this one.
Well, you reckon they're going to break their loss streak at the moment of 3 games? They've conceded 10 goals, and I think they've had a player sent off in each game so far.
So a good record.
Yeah, I think they have, haven't they? Have had one player because they lost in Campbelltown.
Yep. I think you're right.
I think they've lost a player in each game so far. So, look, it is a really tough game. Really tough game to predict because Croydon, they haven't been great in front of goal with creating chances and things like that. I mean, they scored 7 in the cup, but they were playing against, I think it was Elizabeth Grove. So you kind of expect them to create a bit, but in the league itself, they've struggled to create real good chances for Andre Carr. But the ones he has had, he's taken. So I'm going to go with Croydon, but very tight result. And I think Andre Carr will probably score. He'll score the goals, whether it be 1 or 2, but it'll be, I think, Croydon just over the line.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mark. I think Croydon, well, they've been inconsistent, haven't they? They've gone and beaten Campbelltown and then dropped silly points elsewhere, arguably silly points elsewhere. But I think they'll be too good for an Adelaide United side that I see a little, obviously suffering a little bit from disciplinary issues and maybe not quite settled yet.
Your favourite player yet to go off the mark?
Yeah. Got all about him. He's I shouldn't say that. No, I think Croydon in this one.
And the final game for the Saturday in the NPL, the final game I'll be doing after my long weekend of talking and yelling at football, Adelaide Olympic versus Campbelltown City at 7 p.m. at the Parks. I'll go Campbelltown.
Yeah, look, as much as I'd love Olympic to get the result at home on a Saturday night, I think Campbelltown will have too much quality in the end and should come out winners.
Yep, I'm with both of you. Campbelltown for me.
So, Seb, how many games and what games are you calling on the weekend? Let's list them out.
So, I have Adelaide City versus Stir in the WNPL on Friday at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
Then right after that, I have Adelaide City versus FK Beograd at the same ground at 8:15 with Hayley Routley. Yep, with Hayley Routley and David
WNPL?
The first one is.
Yep, and the second one's NPL.
Yep, with David.
Yep.
And then on the Saturday, I head to Jeps Cross at midday to do Inter versus Comets.
Yep.
And then I'll probably go home, sleep, and then come back refreshed for the night time to go do Adelaide Olympic versus Campbelltown City.
That's fair enough. So that's a fair few games there. And David, you're on with him this weekend, which should be exciting if he's still awake and still surviving.
Oh, no, I've only got him in the second game, so he should be awake.
Should be all right.
Awake at that point. He'll be all those poppers and all those sugary drinks. He'll be on the.
Yeah.
We can't endorse any products here, but the sugary drinks that give you all that energy, he'll be sculling them. So I imagine he'll be fine. I'll be the one that's tired. I'll have done a full day's proper work.
Yeah.
By the time that night game comes around,
I've got to prepare. Is that not work? I've got to prepare for 4 games. That is like a 4 weeks' work for me.
I know. I'm kidding you on.
I've got a wedding on Saturday, so I'll miss most of the Saturday games, unfortunately. But I'm just humming and hawing about the South Adelaide Raiders game. I might jump on that one if there's enough equipment going around. I might swing that one, and we'll see, and just give that one a call. But we'll go from there.
Absolutely. The more games with comms on it, the better, and the more games broadcasted, the better. That's pretty much all from us today. Anything else to add, boys?
Yeah, look, I'll just quickly jump on sorry, David, if you're happy for me to, I'll jump on with the team of the year. Just a reminder there, Seb and David, that yes, the podcast is doing our team of the year. We're doing our best and fairest, and we're doing a goalkeeper of the year. So we do have a sponsor for the goalkeeper of the year, which is thanks to Tassie Breeden and TJ Glotz, which is fantastic. So they've jumped on board for that. We are still looking for a show sponsor, a team of the year sponsor. So if anyone is listening that wants to jump on board, please reach out to one of us, and we'll open the discussions. But the team of the year, obviously, we go through and we watch all the games, be it after or live. We do our voting. So each game will have a 3-2-1, and that'll be mixed between obviously all us commentators. And so come the end of the year, we'll have a best and fairest 3-2-1, just like the I'd like to say the best and fairest the league run, but we're not that standard. But it will be our own team of the year and our own best and fairest and goalkeeper of the year. I'd love to do a save of the year as well, but that's a lot of work. That one, it's going back through every game, watching all the saves, and it takes time. So we'll see how we go. But yeah, shout out to Tassie Breeden and TJ Glotz for jumping on board and sponsoring the Goalkeeper of the Year award.
I was going to propose that we have a co-commentator of the year award. And there's a pretty good chance I would finish first or second in that. As would you, Mark.
I reckon we would, yeah. I reckon you'll take it though, because I reckon you'll do more games than I will. So you'll probably. And I'm jumping between a lead and a co-com these days. So like the South game this weekend, if I jump on, I'll probably jump on as lead. So I reckon you've got it.
Well, if you need code for that one, let me know.
All right. I don't know if I'll do it by myself or if I'll get you involved, or maybe even Benny Dale, see who's available. I haven't decided yet. I like to make my decisions quite late in the week for the comms. So I know Jaden at the Federation.
Yeah, to the love of Jaden. To the love of Jaden. He loves that.
So we'll wait and see how we go with that. But Jaden, shout out, mate. Expect me to reach out to you come Thursday or Friday.
So 3, 2, 1. So I was just going to add as well, my apologies earlier on in the podcast here. The Mount Barker coach is Nigel Gill, and I forgot it just completely escaped my mind. So apologies for that, Nigel, and everyone else at Mount Barker. And then I just wanted to mention as well, of course, the announcement that Spurs and Newcastle are meeting at the MCG in a post-season friendly. That game's coming 3 days after the end of the Premier League season, so those guys must finish the last game, have a shower, and then just basically jump on a jet and come out here. So it's I guess maybe the theory is doing it at the end of the season means that these players can come out, play this game, and then that's your break. And some of them might even end up staying here or going on to somewhere in the Pacific for holidays or something like that. That's how I imagine that will play out. Or maybe they'll stop at Dubai on the way back or something like that. So anyway, Newcastle and Spurs at the MCG, that's on the 22nd of May. And I hadn't realised this, but Newcastle are then staying on to play an A-League All-Stars game at Marvel Stadium. Now all these sponsorship names. Marvel, is that the rectangular stadium in Melbourne? Not sure. Nobody knows because it's all sponsorship names.
David, following on from that, the Arsenal women's are coming out as well. Sorry, you were going to say that as well.
Yeah, you go for it. Yep.
I was just going to say that I know that they're heading out at the end of the season as well. So we'll see. And it's actually just before the Matildas play. So we'll actually capture some of the Matildas playing for their clubs like Catley, Ford, Cooney Cross, who are all obviously at Arsenal. So hopefully they'll at least play some part in the Arsenal game, which I think they're playing against a WA League All-Stars, I think it is.
It is. It's actually a double header. So Newcastle play an A-League All-Star team, and then Arsenal's women are taking on an Women's A-League All-Star team as well.
We all know the draw card there. It's going to be the Arsenal women's team, that's for sure. So,
really?
Oh, big time, mate. When you've got so many of them that are Arsenal, Australia, they're all Matildas.
I honestly agree.
I actually must clarify that I said I queried it like that because I was focusing on the Arsenal bit, not the not the players themselves, but the club Arsenal. So I just want to make sure that it's
Yeah,
understood that
no,
it wasn't.
well, mate, Arsenal massive supporters, trust me. But yeah, I think they'll actually probably draw just as big a crowd purely based on the fact that they've got the Australians playing for them.
Yeah. No, I agree. In all seriousness, I agree. And I think it's great that, the Arsenal women are coming out here as well, given how the women's game has sort of accelerated in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, when would an English Premier League women's team have toured here before? So that's great.
Oh, it's brilliant. I'm actually considering going. It's in Melbourne, so I'm considering going because it is the Arsenal. I know my sister is actually looking at going as well. So there'll be quite a few people heading over, I think, for both games. But like I said, I'd happily leave after the first one, to be honest.
I've actually seen Newcastle play at St James's Park in a Premier League match against Aston Villa, and the weather that night. So I think it was a December night or a January night,
So
and
it would
the
have been
weather
about a minus 43 degrees. And you
was
would have had about 40,000 of them with their shirts off.
Yeah, exactly. You've kind of summed it up, but it was just an atrocious day. It was freezing cold. It was blowing a gale, and the rain was pouring down. But again, I loved it. I was in my element. But that's my St James's Park story.
Well, I don't have a St James Park story, but I do have a Newcastle story for you. So going back many years now, I reckon it would have been around 2000, 2001, Adelaide hosted what was called then a Festival Cup. And we had, it was actually run by one gentleman by the name of Glenn Dodd, who is one of the SportsMed founders. And they brought out the under-21 side from a range of teams. So we had Glasgow Rangers, we had Vasco da Gama, we had an Australia side, which Alex Brosk, Luke Wilkinson played in, Mackay, that was captain, and that of Brisbane, all played in it. Our very own Michael Patriciani played in it as well. But they had Newcastle come over, and they had the likes of a very young at the time former captain Steve Taylor of Newcastle. He played in it. They also had Thomas Vermaelen, former captain of Arsenal. He came out with Ajax at the time. And so it was a festival held over a week. Absolutely phenomenal. I actually was lucky enough to work there with the now CEO of Adelaide United in young Nathan Cosmina. And yeah, just a phenomenal tournament. It was great to see those players come over and play. And I actually managed to go out drinking, well, not drinking, but going out celebrating with the Newcastle boys one night.
You nearly landed them all in the shit there, didn't you?
Oh, mate, they're all past it now. But yeah, so we actually were able to hang out with them after the tournament and after one of the games one night. So we got to go back to their hotel and we just chilled out with the Newcastle boys, which was just phenomenal. It was brilliant to be able to just chill out with them and talk to them. And obviously you had the likes of Stephen Taylor and that, and Michael Chopra were in the Newcastle side.
Actually, I'm just reading. I don't recall that tournament that you're talking about, but I do remember Rangers coming here and competing in a tournament with a bunch of other clubs. There's maybe 4 European clubs. Maybe they were all British, but I remember watching Rangers and being quite taken with a player named Chris Burke, who went on to play in England. I think he played. I can't remember who he played for, but it was an under-18s team, and I'm showing my age here. So it was an under-18s team, but I've just looked him up, and he's actually 41 now. So that must have been 25 years ago.
The same age as me. All right, so here we go. I've managed to pull up some of the info. So they had Vasco da Gama and Shandong, Juventus and Rangers, and Ajax, and what was called the Australia side, which was called the Australs. Bayern Munich, Newcastle United, all came over and played. So it was.
What year was it? What year is that? 2002.
2002. Yep. So we had Richard Offion. Was at Newcastle at the time, Michael Chopra. Who do we have at Rangers? Darryl Duffy, that name rings a bell. And one, I don't know if you remember, but one Ross McCormack.
Oh yes.
So who then went and played in the A-League not long ago.
Yes.
Yeah, did.
So there was a Charles Adam. I'd have to see if that's the Charlie Adam that was at Liverpool and who turned out for Liverpool later in his career.
What, he's down there as being with the Rangers team, or
yeah, with the Rangers team, yeah.
Could
Well,
have
he's
been.
held. Yeah, I mean, he played for Rangers. I don't know what he. That's a long. I don't know if he was playing for Rangers 22 years ago, whenever that was. And I think maybe they were talking about the same tournament because this Chris Burke guy. I've now got a feeling the game I saw was Rangers and Newcastle, but I'm not certain.
In 2002, it was called the Festival Cup, but it did continue, I think, the following year, but it changed its name.
Right.
I'm not sure what it was after that, but I do remember, like I said, I was working there at the time, and like I said, it was brilliant fun. Absolutely loved it. So
Actually, I was reminiscing this week about a game I went to at Marden at Blue Eagles ground, and I looked it up. It was 2004, so it's 20 years ago, and it was a World Cup qualifier. It was Australia and Fiji, and in the Australian team was Tim Cahill, and he was only a youngster at the time. But what was quite remarkable, I remember thinking at the time, was he just the previous week or the previous fortnight had played for Millwall in the 2004 FA Cup final against Manchester United. And I'm doing all this from memory. I don't have this in front of me. Millwall, Manchester United, 2004 FA Cup final. Millwall lost the final, and then Tim Cahill jumped in a plane and came out here and played in a bunch of World Cup qualifiers, which I think might have doubled up as Oceania competition as well. And there was the Solomon Islands, Fiji, Vanuatu, New Zealand, and Australia.
yeah, that's the Oceania group when we were still part of that one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but that was a World Cup qualifier. He'd come off the plane from an FA Cup final, and there he was at Marden Sports Complex playing against the Fiji side. I think Australia won 6-0, maybe 6-1, and it was in front of it. There must have been 1,500 people there. That was it. And at the end of the game, I'd stayed around a little bit, and at the end of the game, we're walking out, and the players are all walking out at the same time. It was almost like a park game, a Sunday amateur park game. But I was just reminiscing about that just recently. But I took an old film camera there, so I took a bunch of photos. I must dig them out.
I'm going to have to find the info for you. I've got the T-shirt somewhere.
It's not got Gatorade in the back, has it?
No, it doesn't have Gatorade on the back. So just to give listeners context, Seb is finally happy he's got his Gatorade jacket that Johnny and I were wearing during the MPL Grand Final last season. I was the only smart one that took theirs home, and then everyone's been crying, and then you lot been crying for one since. So they finally got their jackets. They'll be happy.
Don't stand too near an open flame with it, though. It looks like one of those materials that might just combust.
Well, this is what happens when we don't have Alessia here. We go on these.
You can edit all. You've got a bit of editing to do tonight, haven't you?
No, this is staying in.
Oh,
what do you mean?
Yeah, this is, why not?
This is all staying in. This is what happens. We get finished early. We have more time to talk about whatever we want. Alessia's not here. We can have a party. Like, we don't even.
I know it should be Alessia who.
God. At least it's not Johnny back. Otherwise, more of that would be coming. Well, that's pretty much us from us for this week. Thank you, David, and thank you, Mark, for joining me this week. And I'll be sure to talk to you, and I'll be seeing you, David, this weekend, and I'll be seeing you soon, Mark, and talking to you both on a regular basis.
Oh, definitely.
Friday night date night.
Absolutely. I got a double date that night.
Enjoy your date, guys.